welcome to 360 Degree with Dr. Marie Asher Baptiste. We are so delighted tonight to have this podcast with our very special guest all the way from China. It is going to be a super exciting time because we all want to hear the current situation of what's going on. We all have been talking about how in this past few months, the whole world has been shaking because of what's happening with the global pandemic. And with this pandemic impacted grown men and women, but it impacted, everything done on this face of this earth. So if we're going to relate this to science, we could say that all the non-living things and all the living things has been impacted by this situation. So for tonight is very special podcast. We have with us our very special guest, Mr. Marc Torbeck from all the way from China. And he will give us, he is a scholar that is majoring in project management as well as an entrepreneur that key into business. So before we go right into questioning, one of the things that we want to make sure that we know, wherever there is creativity, the possibility of a solution is at our hand. But in the midst of every adversity, there's always prosperity, and wealth lies right next to it. So tonight is, what are we going to decide to do? Are we going to decide for us to thrive, or are we going to look at the situation and stay freezing? So all the way from China, we're going to let Mr. Marc to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what he does and who he is. And then we're going to go ahead on and ask him, what is the latest situation? What is the current situation out of China right now? Because the tension is still going on all over the world. In China and, various countries, as we know. The floor is for you, Mr. Marc.
Hello, Mary. How are you doing?
Good.
My name is Marc. I'm from Haiti. I've been in China since 2006. I'm a student in Shanghai University. So I'm really glad to join you guys in this podcast so that we can talk about what's going on actually in China. So, I have to say that the current situation in China, it's a little bit frightening for us as foreigners and primarily people of color, because we've been subject of racism and discrimination from the Chinese, from some of Chinese citizens, and also I can say the Chinese government. It's so frightening, but we're still in quarantine. As a student, as a student, I'm still in quarantine because I'm living on campus. We cannot go out without the authority. So we still I'm doing well in my city in Shanghai, but we're still looking forward to see how things are going to be.
Very well. This is really I thank you so much for expressing the concern of what's going on right now in China. What I want to ask you, when this pandemic take place in China, what is it the same way that it is here in America? Because right now in America, the tension in America, it has been frightening, because we have a lot of people dying from left and right, and then we have a great number of impacted with the virus. Now, in the beginning of this COVID-19, was it as extreme as it is in America?
No, right now in China, the situation is quite good and calm, because businesses are open and the nightlife is getting better from time to time. Even though school and university are still remain closed, but the people are doing good now.
And so the quarantine still going on. Why is that? If all business is open and things are functioning accordingly, why are we still taking the precautionary measures in China? Is there a possibility that it might be a second spread?
Yes. They think we are very careful for second spread of the virus, because we still don't know how many people who are infected. But and also the country is closed right now because foreigners cannot go in China right now. But But for us, we live in China. We still in quarantine, and we cannot go to school. We stay. If we live in campus, you have to stay in quarantine for at least 14 days still, because the authorities says that we need to be careful for second spread of the virus.
I
Yeah,
totally understand. Yes, I totally understand. So there's still a
exactly.
precautionary measure. Now, what the audience really want to know, being a man of color and having many different color individual, either tourists or business owners or businessmen and women out of China, how is the treatment in China for colored people living in China?
Well, I've been in China. I have to say, I've been in China since 2006. Since 2006. So there were racism and discrimination, but it wasn't so expressive as it is as it is right now. I can say China is not an immigrant country. We have to understand that China is not an immigrant country. But in fact, racism and discrimination, it is something that normal and usual for some Chinese citizens. They express it. They've been vocal about it. So for us to live right now in China, it's a little bit scary because we are subjects of discrimination, racism. We are subject of violence. So we are be careful. We don't go outside. We don't go out. We don't go
Mm-hmm.
out. We don't go out at night because I have some of my friends. They've been exposed to violence by some Chinese citizens.
Hmm. My God. My God. Now, let me ask you this. When you say that we are subject to racism and discrimination, and in what aspect are you saying that? Is it in individual citizen or is it the government itself?
I think it is a citizens. It is citizens and also the government, but because there's some places they don't want us to get in, like there's some business. They say you cannot get in. Why? Because you're black. So
Wow.
I think I
That's
think I
really
think I
powerful.
think I think I think what's going on right now, it's systematic.
Wow. So the situation now, I have, looked at the news lately, and in a lot of the, articles that's been coming across international spectrum, it shows that, African origin individuals that's living in China right now, or African descendants, are being targeted in a particular area out of China. Can you give us a little bit light into this, and also what is the Pacific city this is taking place?
Yeah. So right, this happening in Guangzhou, in Hubei province. So it's happening in Guangzhou. Guangzhou is, I can say, it's there's a lot of African who lives in Guangzhou for business, also school, and there's a lot of students as businessmen. Because let's not forget China is responsible for 1/3 of the world economic growth. So which means a lot of people will always want to travel to China for businesses, for business purposes, and also to business partnership. So those kind of things. But us for African, and also we travel to China for business and study, specifically in Guangzhou. So in my city, Shanghai, there is racism and discrimination, but not as it is in Guangzhou. I think the whole country right now, the intention is not really good for people of color to live right now. So I think if any black or brown skinned people who lives in China right now, they have to be careful.
Wow, this is powerful what you said. Now, let me ask you this. In regard, knowing that China is one of the it's one of the powers nation in the world. Is one of the five powerful economy in the world, because China for 2019 has been $14.4 trillion just in economy itself, and that put it at the
Exactly.
second
Yeah, the
powerful
GDP. Yeah.
nation. Yes, that put them at the second powerful nation after the United States of America. And so I understand for a few years that China has, been trying to work to win a unity front within other nations, to work with other nations and assimilate as one, and want to bring businesses and want to partner with other countries to help the economy. How is that stand when the very country that's looking for partnership, that wants to be one in the united front whenever the government speak, but within the country itself, this discrimination and racism is taking place, when we know that China has done a lot of business in various Black countries, especially in the continent of Africa. So, what is the government saying about that? Or is what the government showing is not what it is in reality?
Yes, let's not forget that. Yeah, I was saying that. Let's not forget that China is a communist country. It's not a democratic country. So there are some demeanors that we expect from them when it comes to human rights. I think this issue should be addressed by the African. I think this issue should be addressed by them, because us as people, we still can be vocal about it, we still can be outspoken about it, but when it's come to actions to try to solve this problem, I think
Mhm.
it should be a diplomatic
Mhm.
policy.
Correct, correct. I agree with you. So, in light of you saying that, you have brought a very good point. What are the, consulates or the heads of states that is in that particular, city, or in China, or saying in regard to what's happening to call colored men and women, and especially a lot of colored men and women is coming from the continent of Africa for business and trading, and also for tourism.
Yes, the consulates still address this issue with the Chinese authorities. But the most important thing, I think, if we really need to fix this problem, we need to appeal the African Union countries so that they can come together and address this issue with the Chinese government. Because if it's like one country or one consulate which gonna try to fix it, it's not gonna work.
I agree
Because
with you.
yeah.
I agree with you. So, do you foreseen this happen in the near future?
Yes, I think so because let's not forget that China is a salient member of the international community, which means there are some values we should force China to adopt or respect, because when it's come to human rights, which is universal values, so we China really need to treat people with dignity and respect.
Correct. So, saying, and that brought me to a good point. I really appreciate what you said. Not only this is a diplomacy issue that needs to be, worked out in the diplomacy, level, but it also going to take together. What I'm gathering from what you're saying is that we, as colored people in elected positions, need to come together to voice this as one voice in the diplomacy level, to come up with a resolution to
What
what's
what
happening here.
definitely.
Because from what you're saying, if this doesn't take place, even though a consulate is trying to voice, his opinion, his authority, it's not going to be fully effective, because it's only one representative that's trying to speak on the behalf of a whole nation and a
Definitely.
different territory.
Yeah, definitely. Because if if from my standpoint, I can say if one consulate or one country
Mm-hmm.
go, is going to try to fix this issue by itself, it's not going to work, because China is a very very proud country, is a very authoritarian country. So we need to. I think the African Union need to address this issue and say, hey, we're doing business. We have a diplomatic relationship. If you really want to cooperate with us as a union, there are some values, there are some issues we need to talk about, like the human rights.
Mm-hmm.
The human rights
Correct.
issues, because China needs to treat people with dignity and respect.
Correct. I agree with you. I agree with you. And do you believe that we as colored people will come to that agreement to stand forward to bring a resolution to what's happening right now? Because the
Definitely,
situation it's really tense and heavy. Because I have seen clips where they're pushing the people out of the store, and then and leaving their bags behind, and don't even give them any time for them to try to, pick up their belongings. And so, how long will this go on? And when are they going to speak as colored people for the sake of human right over there?
definitely. I think that there will be a resolution if the African countries come together and stay committed together, um, come together and stay committed together, so that they can address this issue, because we need China. China need us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we
Correct.
need China. China need us, because I think if it doesn't work, I think China could possibly hurt by this situation, because because when it's come to trade and commerce, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
goods and services Chinese selling with Africa. So
Mm-hmm.
China needs us. We need China too. I think definitely they will find a solution if the African countries stay together and come together with the situation. I think they really can find a good resolution.
Very good. I like that. I like that. I like your statement. Now that brings me to a very good point. What would you what you that living in China right now and seeing this situation, and it's a very scary situation for any people of color that lives in China, what message would you give to the Africans leaders? What is the call of action for the African leaders at this point right now? You, who's a colored man that's living there, what would you want the African Union to do for colored people? What is your call of action for them? What is that 1, 2, 3 that must be taking place immediately as African Union represent all Black people that is on earth?
I think right now my message for them is they have to come together. They have to forget any internal conflicts or internal issues that they have, so that they can come together, sit down together, and say, okay, we as African country, we need to address this issue, because if we come together, if we stay committed together, I think China will listen, and they will definitely um, dignify our brothers and sisters who lives and study in China.
Very good. So really like the number one key things that they need to do is to come together. What
Come
would be the
together and
second?
find.
Very good. What would be the second thing that the African Union or the African diaspora need to do as a
I
call
think
of action?
the African diaspora who lives in China.
The whole African diaspora that is representing the African Union.
Yes, I think they need to support us.
Mm-hmm.
Any kind of way they can they I think there's a link. I don't know if you have it. I can send it to you, where
Mm-hmm.
you can get in contact with us for the African who study in China. I think they can support us, and please share
Mm-hmm.
the this message, so that the African leaders can do something. because I know it's difficult for them. I know it's difficult for them, but if they come together, they definitely can do something so that our brothers and sisters who lives in Guangzhou, any part in China, can be respected and dignified.
Now, my next question that I want to ask you, what message do you have for African, that's living in this tension area? How are this? What is the behavior that you would expect from them, since this is a scary time where their life is in danger? What message would you give your brothers and sister that is in a city that has greater tension than where you are?
Yes, for my brothers and sister who lives in Guangzhou right now, where it's happening, I think one of the most important thing they need to do is to play by the rules, and because we are not in Africa, we in China. China is a communist and authoritarian country. We need to play by the rules. If they have the possibility to leave Guangzhou to go to another city, or even go back to Africa, if they want to, I think it will be good if they can do that, because one of the most important things is to protect yourself, because
Yes.
because as long as our leaders don't come up with a solution, or with resolution, I don't think this situation will be solved. But
My God.
right now they need to be careful and play by the rules, and listen to the authorities, the Chinese government authorities. And if they can leave Guangzhou or go to another city, I think it's better for them to do it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, that's great. I like that. I like that. Now, there was something that caught my attention when you were giving this statement to our brothers and sisters that's in China. You said that they need to play by the rules. What are the rules in China for men and women of color living in China?
Well, when I say play by the rules, if you're in China, remember China is when I say China is a communist and authoritarian country, people need to understand that you it's like basically you cannot go to the court. You don't have a supreme court in China, so that you can appeal the government to respect your rights. So when I say play by the rules, I mean, if they say they don't want you in their businesses, don't go there. If they say that they don't want you in this hotel, don't go there. So if you can leave the city or go back to Africa or any other countries, just do it, because as long as our leaders don't come up with a good resolution to fix this issue, I don't think it's gonna work. We can still be vocal. We can still be outspoken about that situation, but a communist country, a communist regime, they're not gonna listen.
Mm-hmm. Correct, correct, correct.
They're not gonna listen to us as the people.
Correct, correct. That's really powerful what you said, because we definitely have to understand that we got to play exactly by their rules, because
Yeah.
we don't necessarily have, well, it's not we don't necessarily, we do not have democracy over there.
No, we don't have the
So
democracy.
if
We don't have the
there's,
democracy. It's a
yes,
authoritarian
if there's
country.
no democracy,
Yeah.
it's the government really dictate what needs to take place and what is right, and you really don't
Exactly.
have any place to voice your opinion on what you think is right or not right. I
Definitely.
understand. I understand. My God,
So
this is really this is really a double-edged sword situation for colored, people, because the colored people always themselves in places because they're looking for better opportunity, to help, themselves and their family. But it's always something that goes on that always put them has the men attention, or the men person, that's not in the right. So
yeah,
I don't
definitely.
know. I don't know if that's good luck, or if it's not good
Yeah,
luck. I don't know what we would call it.
we are not. we're not a unified continent who suffer. Our brothers and sisters are suffering
Mhm.
anywhere on the globe, because in Africa we have any resources that we need to to stay in Africa. I don't say not traveling, but at least live a decent life in Africa as a human being. We have anything that we need to, but the only thing that we don't have, it's unity.
We have a problem of unity.
Unity.
Once we
That's the only
become,
thing we need right now. Unity.
yeah, yeah. Once we can unite it, then we can definitely be one. I have
Yeah.
one audience that have a question for you, Mr. Mark,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna bring her in. Miss Kirby, go ahead on.
Hey, hey,
So
I do have one quick question because I know this is like totally out of the norm. Because I've been looking at like just videos and like news articles and stuff about, you know, how of course what we've been discussing about, you know, the impact on the colored people in China.
yeah.
But as like young people, you know, being young, like, are you able to, for example, I saw a video. It was like a lady and another person, like another young black lady. They were going to the mall, and it was somewhere in China. But they
Yeah,
were.
it's actually, sorry, it's actually in Guangzhou.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
it was in Guangzhou, sorry, because Guangzhou, it's a capital city for trade, I can say, in China. There's a
Oh,
lot of there's a lot of factories, there's a lot of businesses, malls. It's actually in Guangzhou. Most of the products that we use in even in America
mhm.
and in Africa, they come from Guangzhou.
Gotcha. No,
Yeah,
that's totally like pretty much that was my question right there. Like, I mean,
yeah,
just to know where that was at, that's pretty interesting.
yeah,
But where you're at though, you're able to go like, for example, okay, well, I want to go get something to eat or something like that. You're still able to go out and do normal things. I mean, of course, like things are not normal right now because of COVID-19, but you like if you need to go get groceries or just the essential things, you're still
yeah.
able
What?
to do those.
Yeah, right now, yeah, we can go outside, but before we go, because I live on campus, so before I go out, I need to notice my 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 universities to say, okay, I'm going out to buy groceries, to do anything that I want, but I need to give them my itinerary.
Gotcha. No, that's pretty interesting. No, that's pretty interesting. And my thing is this too as well, because what if I mean living over there in China, like what advice would you give to the young people?
Let me tell you something. China is a really interesting country. China is really interesting country. The Chinese. I mean, the city where I live in Shanghai, it's really a beautiful city. And
Mhm,
China is when it's come to security, China is very safe to live. When it's come to social security, in
mhm,
terms of police brutality, when compared to China, compared to USA, China is really safe.
mhm,
But when it's come to racism and discrimination, I think the Chinese people.
mhm,
I think the Chinese people. It's happening. It's happening. I have to say, it's happening. It's it's because lack of exposure. Because the Chinese always think Africa is one country.
mhm.
They they, they,
Got-
they, they, they they don't think that Africa is there's different countries like Ghana, Nigeria,
mhm,
and Congo and Zimbabwe. They think Africa
mhm,
it's one country, and also they think every black people are from Africa.
mhm. Interesting. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
Very interesting. I mean, to know that, just very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay,
Wow,
cool.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's really some good nuggets that you give us tonight to
Yeah.
shed some
And
light
and also there are
on
cities
what's
there are
going
cities
on.
there are cities in China, they never see a black person.
My God.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. So that it's
Hello.
really sad,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we really look to see some change take place.
yeah.
And we
So
thank you
definitely,
for taking your time. What is the latest in China going on among me to take place, and also what is the, leaders of African Union to do to bring a result out on this. Well, I would like to find out what is your final words to the audience before we close out, Mr. Mark.
Yes, I would like to say, I think, and I really hope they find a solution or resolution for this situation that's going on with our people, our brothers and sisters in China, specifically in Guangzhou. And for the audience, I think they need to, I invite them to come in China when everything is said and done with the whole coronavirus going on right now in the world. I'd like them to go and visit China to see how it is to live in China. Not only China specifically, but also Asia. So because there's a lot of Black people who lives in Asia, Singapore, China, Taiwan, Indonesia, Thailand. There's a lot of Black people. There's a huge community, African who lives in Asia.
Correct. I agree with you.
Wow, what an amazing show. Again, you hear it at 360 Lens View with Dr. Baptiste. Again, thank you so much, Mark, all the way from China, giving us the situation that's going on in China with our brothers and sisters there. Again, you hear it first. Thank you to our sponsor, American Caribbean Chamber of Commerce, and thank you to all our audience for continuing to support us. If you need to get any information and connect with American Caribbean Chamber of Commerce, you can reach out to them by visiting their website, www.accc.global. Again, it was a pleasure. You have it here on 360 Degree Lens View with Dr. Baptiste. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.